Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ari Janelle for all of you guys who are new, and I'm so sorry that it has taken me this long to upload a video. I have tried these past 2 weeks to upload a video, and I don't know if it's because of a different project that I'm working on for this channel. It has been incredibly difficult for me to render videos in my movie editor or my video editor. So I'm actually hoping that this one comes out. I just decided to completely re-record the video, and I'm hoping that it has, the capacity to render so that I can upload it. This video that I will be doing for you guys today is one that I have really anticipated making. Recently, I just saw The Kissing Booth, which, if you guys did not know, was originally was originally a book on Wattpad that was picked up by a large publisher and was recently adapted into a film by Netflix. Now, this is not a review for The Kissing Booth. If you guys would like me to review that, that's totally fine. But The Kissing Booth was not the first of its kind. There have been a lot of books as of late that have come from Wattpad that are now turning into, television shows on Netflix and movies on Netflix that are, also getting a large backing from large publishers and things like that. And so it got me thinking, what are some of the books that I love to read on Wattpad that I think would be absolutely great as a movie? And so I'm going to go ahead and give you that list. Before I do, I want you to go ahead and click the subscribe button down below and ring that bell so that you guys get notifications every time I upload a new video. And let me go ahead and get right into this list. Now, the very first book that I have for you guys, as you can see over here, is actually going to be a twofer. It is Affliction and Sanctuary, both by Crystal J. Johnson, and I'm actually doing these first because they tie into the last video that I did, which is also the very first video on my channel, which was a review on Affliction. So go ahead, if you haven't seen that now, click out of this video, check that out. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? And then come right back so we can talk about it, okay? But if you have seen that video or you just want to skip straight ahead to this one, then let's go ahead and chat about why I think these two would be excellent as either, television shows or movies. First off, both the zombie genres as well as the dystopian genre have been around for ages. I don't know if you guys know about Night of the Living Dead, but it was a series of movies that came out in the, I believe, late 50s, early 60s. They started off in black and white, and they were about reanimated corpses that rose from the grave to terrorize this town. You have Lord of the Flies, which is a classic novel that is now read in many high schools. That was about a dystopian land, and these teenagers kind of had to figure out how to navigate through this dystopian world. And so I feel like Crystal's story, Affliction and Sanctuary, would do very well considering the fact that these are long-standing genres. But not only that, they're genres that are still popular today. You have Z Nation, you have The Walking Dead, and so you've got a lot of these like zombie apocalypse type stories. And so I feel like, these 6 young adults, Quinn, River, Noah, Wes, Harry, and Aiden would do very well in that universe because there's already a platform for it. There's already such a fan base for that anyway. But not only that, though, I think it's very, very, I don't want to say in fashion because this should always be a thing, but it's very, very in vogue right now to have, strong female protagonists. You have How to Get Away with Murder, Scandal just ended. You have lots of other shows. And I think it's really important for young girls, teen girls, to also see that, this strength and, badassery doesn't just have to come from older women, who've already learned the trials and tribulations of being young, but can also come from younger girls. And a lot of younger girls now are very, very strong-willed. They're very, about making their own way, without a guy. And they're just very independent in their way of thinking. And so I think there would be a huge market of young girls, or 18 to, I guess, 49, which is the target demographic usually for CW anyway, that would find a home in Crystal's universe. And so I honestly, if that doesn't get made into like a movie or a television show in my lifetime, I'm going to be the maddest ghost ever. I may actually come back as a reanimated corpse and haunt all of Hollywood. So number 3 on the list is a story called The Seven Kingdoms by Lady Sapphire 2018. Now, before we get into why I think this would be a good movie or television show for today's audiences, I want to go ahead and just say how wonderful this author is. Quite like Crystal, I really enjoy the conversations that I have with Lady Sapphire 18. She is a very supportive author who comments and leaves lots of comments on all of my books, or I should say on Sanctuary, A Tale of Escape, because she just finished that one. And I can only assume that, if she enjoys it, the same would be true for Fighting for You. And I just absolutely adore this author so much like Crystal. And so let's go ahead and talk about why her book, The Seven Kingdoms, would be really good for today's audiences. Well, first off, it is a story about a girl named Jasmine who finds out that she is a mermaid. And, it kind of throws a wrench in her plans of graduating high school and becoming a marine biologist, because now she's thrust into these choppy waters, pun very intended, of the ocean, where she must deal with, friends who might potentially be foes, a very, very cute little dolphin named Bubbles that everybody in the comment section has fallen in love with. You've got, different familiars. You've got underwater Olympics. It's just got it all. And what I think would be especially awesome to see is her underground world. If you think about what the ocean floor might look like, you probably imagine lots of shipwrecks, lots of glass. You'd imagine lots of coral, lots of colors. There's lots of school of fish. The ocean seems to be just a very deep, dark, dangerous, but also beautiful world. And that is something I feel is represented very well in her story. All of her 7 kingdoms are complete metropolises where, you've got these mermaids that live in the most advanced civilization. But, if that civilization were kind of back in the ancient world. And I think that, it would do very well with today's audiences, because if you guys don't know, Disney has decided that, I believe, The Little Mermaid is going to be their next live action film. And, people are highly anticipating that movie. And so with it being a mermaid story, I do think, that with the popularity of Disney doing that, The Seven Kingdoms would definitely have a home on the big screen. But I don't think it's so like The Little Mermaid that people would automatically be like, what, I'm not going to see that. One Little Mermaid is enough. No, it's totally different. The characters are different. The feel is different. Lady Sapphire 18 manages to do that and comes up with a really cool story that has mystery and intrigue and many different possible romances. And I just think it would be such a cool story visually to see for today's audiences. Now we have, for our 4th story, a story called The Wicked Born by Listening Carefully. And this story is actually really, really cool to me for a couple reasons. It's about a witch named Tabitha, a very young witch who has been tracking this man named Dacre throughout different villages for quite some time, in the hopes that she can capture him, bring him back to the king, which happens to be his father, in exchange for something very secretive and very, very valuable to her. And what I like about this story, just as I did about Sanctuary and Affliction, as well as actually The Seven Kingdoms, and I didn't mention this one, is that it's the protagonist is a very, very strong woman. But unlike those two, what I like about this one is that you can't really tell if Tabitha, this protagonist, is a villain or not. It starts the story thinking that she may actually be the villain. She's not the sweet, docile, nice witch who makes little potions in her kitchen and just wants everybody to be happy and, enchanted. No, she's dark and she's dangerous and she's not afraid to kill. And there's lots of rumors about her. And I think the reason why that would translate so well to TV is because you already have stories like that in the Game of Thrones. You have the 100 on the CW, which takes place in a time that kind of resembles what Listening Carefully was going for. But you don't really have that many stories where the woman is the villain or a villainous type of character. I believe on the Vampire Diaries, you did have Catherine Pierce, who was my absolute favorite, outside of Bonnie, who was a witch. So I feel like, it's got that whole, is she good? Is she bad? Can she be trusted? Is she trying to kill you? Type of dangerous vibe. And I love that because, there are some of us out here who do like a little bit of a darker heroine and who do kind of like that anti-hero hero. And not only that though, but I feel like you can immediately just feel the attraction and the chemistry between Dacre and Tabitha, even though there's not supposed to be any, and she is optioning him or trying to sacrifice him to the king, who, like I said, is his father, but also wants to kill him for reasons that they get into later in the story. But I feel like it's actually a very, very different type of story that you don't see told very often. Usually in stories like that, because they are back in the day, in that medieval time, you have like the docile women, or you have the straight up villain, like as in Merlin with Morgana. You don't really have that in between where, maybe she's a villain and maybe she's the hero or shero or heroine, or maybe she's both, and that's why I think this would do really well on maybe the CW. But you know what? I kind of have this feeling that this story is going to heat up in a very, very, very dirty way. And so I would personally love to see this on either HBO or Showtime if you live in the States. Maybe, I believe it's Channel 4 if you live in the UK. Some channel like that doesn't mind racy content. The next story on my list, and I believe this is story number 5, is a story called May and the Wastelands by Megan Lynn 90, or I believe it's called, Megan Lynn 90. And I actually haven't started this story yet. So let me go ahead and read you the synopsis off of my phone. It says that May, an 18-year-old with scoliosis in a future ruled by an oppressive upper class, evades capture when her family is taken to labor camps. Her petite size, her small body from her twisted spine, might be the key to changing the world and saving her family if she can learn to trust Raphael, the upper class rebel leader. This is a YA science fiction story that has a lot of romance thrown into it, and I'm honestly so backed up with writing and reading that I haven't gotten to this story yet. But it's the reason why I added this one is because Megan Lynn's comments on my stories as well as other stories kill me. Has she started mine yet? I'm actually not sure, but her comments on the Seven Kingdoms and The Wicked Born as well as Sanctuary and Affliction are so funny. They're so funny and they're so awesome that I figured, she's got to be an awesome author because these comments are literally killing me. And not only that though, but I feel like her story concept is so original. Yes, it does have to do with the whole dystopian thing. And like I said, I can't completely comment on how she approaches it versus how Crystal approaches it because I haven't gotten to that yet. But I will say that in a lot of stories or movies or television shows about the apocalypse or about, the dystopian world, you don't have a lot of kids with, or even a lot of characters, be it kids or adults, with some type of physical impairment. You don't have a lot of differently abled characters, and anybody who knows me knows I am a very big proponent of diversity in literature, especially teen literature, because I think it's such a pivotal age. And I thought it was really, really cool to have a character that has scoliosis because one of my best friends has scoliosis, and so I hear a lot of stories about him going in and out of surgery. He's been that way since he was 2, going in and out of surgeries. And I think it would be really, really cool for kids to see, not just through literature, on Wattpad, but, actually in traditionally published literature through a large publisher, or on TV series on like the CW or maybe Netflix, or in movie theaters. Kids that look like them, that are differently abled, but are still, very badass characters. And I think this is definitely needed. So for that alone, I'm adding this book because I really honestly believe that we need to see more differently abled characters in the media. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to dive into that one, and I can't wait to see that on the big screen. The next story that I have for you guys, and I believe this is story 6, is a story called Take Hold by XX Symphonious XX. And she also is a really supportive author who unfortunately is going through a major block in her story right now. But her story is basically about 7 teenagers who all go to the same high school, and they have to face real life issues that kind of intertwine them. Like, you've got one who I feel like is actually going to end up with a teen pregnancy. You've got another who's being taunted by her peers for something that isn't available to the reader right now where the story is at, but they keep calling her a slut for some reason, and it gives off a very, child molestation vibe. You've got a guy who's cheating on his girlfriend and who may have gotten said pregnant character pregnant. You just got a lot of really mature themes in the story about kids, and that's actually one of the things that I really love when I'm looking for a YA novel, even if it's like a lighthearted contemporary story. I love stories that give the characters a very mature problem to deal with, because today's teenagers actually do face really mature problems that you may or may not know about. They do face abuse at home. They do face the divorce of a parent. They do face, getting pregnant at a young age. They face, having to provide for their families. They face possibly getting thrust into a gang and having no choice but to do that. I'm not saying that these are the themes in her story, but I'm saying that teenagers today aren't just, little kids with the ability to drive like a lot of adults and even millennials, my age, sometimes may think of them. They are actual human beings who are facing some really, to be completely blunt, tough shit. And it's really, really cool to see an author address teenage problems that stem outside of the realm of, vampires, werewolves, billionaires who want to make them part of their sex dungeons, and terminal illness. Yeah, this has a very 13 Reasons Why feel to me. It's not like that exactly, but it does have a very 13 Reasons Why feel to me, in the sense that, it does face things that teenagers deal with, but from the teenage perspective, because even though they are very mature themes that adults go through as well, they're not going to deal with them like adults, and they're not going to deal with them like little children. And so I think this would definitely have a home on Netflix, like I said, right beside 13 Reasons Why. And speaking of another story that has a very 13 Reasons Why feel, we have coming in at, I believe this is number 7, number 8, maybe? Either number 7 or number 8 is Saving Everest by Teenage X Nightmare. Now, this story is a story about, I believe he's 18 years old, a kid named Everest Finley, who is an 18-year-old on top of the world at his high school. He is the star football player. He is dating the head cheerleader. His best friends are all these really popular jocks in school. He is untouchable. He is unbreakable. He is infallible until he tries to commit suicide. And that takes him from being this popular kid with absolutely nothing to worry about, comes from this rich family, to basically a social pariah. That's how he meets Beverly. Now, Beverly is the complete opposite of him. And, not just in, looks, because this is an interracial story. She is black female. He is white. And it's not just looks that differ between the two. Her background is totally different. She's more of an upbeat, optimistic person, despite the fact that she is growing up semi in poverty. Her mother is never really around. She only has one parent. And when her mother is around, she is basically forced to be the parent to her mother, who had her very young and would actually rather just be young and free than be her mom. And just like Take Hold, this story touches on all of those really, really serious topics. And I feel that it's actually just really cool that you have a story, just like I said, with May in the Wastelands, touching up on scoliosis and differently abled characters. I think it's really good that you have a story that touches on characters that, have mental illness, because that is something that a lot of teens and young adults face nowadays. And I think, like I said, that this would be really good, on Netflix. It would also have a home, I think, on the Freeform channel. And guys, I live in the United States, so if you are in the UK, or you're in South America, or you're in anywhere in Africa, be it South Africa, anywhere on the continent of Africa, Australia, I don't know what stations you guys have. I'm really sorry. But, I know that everyone has Netflix, so I also try to say if this would be a good fit for there as well. And I do think that this story would be a really good fit for Netflix. The 8th story, and I finally realized what number I was on, that I have for you guys is called Broken Kisses Taste Delicious by A.K.A. Nicole. And this story is basically about a girl named Adira, who, for some reason, which we haven't gotten to quite in the story yet, has been disowned by her wealthy family and cut off. And she is forced to sort of find her own way. She is, newly in college. So this would be more of a new adult story. She has been thrust into this world that she doesn't completely understand because she's never really had to fend for herself. And while doing that, she takes up residence with this guy that she, only kind of sort of knows. And he has a friend named Zagan. Now, Zagan, I get the feeling, is a very dangerous character. He's that quintessential bad boy character that you read a lot on Wattpad. But I get the feeling that there's more to him. The relationship actually kind of is interesting, because it has elements of something that could be really, really disturbing. He seems like he could be kind of the abusive sort. But Adira isn't afraid of him. And I think that's what changes the story from being the typical, 50 Shades of Grey for the young adult client or the young adult viewer or reader, into something that actually has the potential to be really, really different. I would like to see this on film because, like I said, it's great to see more diverse characters. It's always great to see yourself represented in a character. And I also feel like this would be great, like I said, on Freeform, Netflix, of course, because they have all kinds of different shows. But I feel like this would actually be a really interesting show. It's not supernatural that I can tell, but it does kind of remind me of the Shadowhunters in the sense that it's dark. And I just think it would be really, really cool to see a relationship that's not like that. Because oftentimes when you have an aggressive alpha male, you do kind of have this ideal that that's, bad. And I do want to see that portrayed as good, because you can have those relationships that are not, conventional without making them completely abusive, if you know what I mean. And lastly, you have books 9 and 10, which are both by the same author, and that author is Soraya Cage. The books are To Summon a Vampire and Captive Witch. Now, I want to go ahead and start by saying that you can't actually read these on Wattpad anymore. They've been taken off completely, and they are now put on Amazon. They are up for purchase, and I've got it right here. If you have Kindle Unlimited, naturally, it's $0. But the reason why I added these two is because Soraya Cage is an indie author. Actually, my number 2 is I found it on Wattpad, and I ended up reading it there. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to. I finished all of To Summon a Vampire on Wattpad, and then I found out that she had another story called Captive Witch, which I read a preview of on Wattpad before she took it off and decided to put it on Amazon, after which I bought it because I absolutely love this woman's work. And I thought it was amazing to end on her, because this is not just a list of books that are my favorite or books that should be movies, but they're also a list of authors that I just absolutely adore. And Soraya Cage's writing is, let me just start off by saying, if 50 Shades of Grey was too much for you, and raciness, not because of the weird, gross, captive thing, but if in raciness it was too much for you, you're gonna want to stop. You're gonna want to stop, because this is basically, To Summon a Vampire and Captive Witch make 50 Shades of Grey look like a 4-year-old's bedtime story. And I would know, because I read to 4-year-olds all the time, being, a pre-K teacher. But this story, oh my gosh. Okay, so first off, we have, and I'm just going to start with the first one. We have To Summon a Vampire. Now, To Summon a Vampire is about a young girl named Maribel. And I'm going to read the description right here because, like I said, it's been a while since I've read it. But it says, a Maribel wolf has never forgotten the vampire she caught watching her sleep on the night of her 16th birthday. Nor has she forgotten his kiss. But as the years pass, she doesn't return But as the years pass and he doesn't return, she fears she will never see those enigmatic red eyes again. And that enough is kind of telling you where the story is going. Until she discovers a spell that can bring him straight to her bedroom, that is. Cairo is a soulless vampire who keeps to himself, roaming the wastelands and wandering the shadows of the other side, hunting down vile creatures that murdered his family and fed on his soul. He has zero patience for the little witch who has the audacity to summon him to her bed. And he has half a mind to teach her a lesson about what happens if you aren't careful what you wish for. Now, I want to completely start off by saying that obviously this has a place in media because you have 50 Shades of Grey. You do have, those types of billionaire stories where the guy is dangerous and dark, but he's, trying not to kill her. You do have those, but what I think separates this story and its next story, which I believe I said was called Captive Witch, is the fact that Maribel literally asked for this. Like, she literally wants to bring him back. She knows he's dangerous. She knows he's demonic. And I think it's actually cool to tell that story too, because some women do like danger, Some women do want that danger. And even though he is this demonic, dangerous character, she has the ability to fight him off if she feels like things are getting to be too much. And I like that too, because she is a strong character. She wasn't just this docile, oh my gosh, I want him, but now things are getting too dangerous and I just don't know what to do. No, she's like, you know what, I want you and I'm going to have you. But if I feel like things are getting too dangerous, I can take care of that. No, I'm just kidding. But no, she is really, really self-sufficient in that regard, and that she can take care of herself if things do get to be too much. And so she knows the danger going into it, and she's not forced into anything. And one could actually almost say that she was the predator, because she keeps trying to bring him to a place that he doesn't want to be. But it's just an all-around good book, and like I said, it is steamy. It is so steamy. And just kind of like its successor, which is Captive Witch, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read to you guys what that's about. This one says, when Rosie Wolf, which is Maribel's sister, is abducted and locked in a dark cell for countless weeks, she fears she has become a meal for the soul-stealing demon. She soon discovers that there will be no quick death for her, though, because her fate is far worse than she imagined. She's become the eternal slave of a blood-sucking vampire. Mir knows that he shouldn't keep Rose as a slave. The witch-vampire treaty is on shaky enough ground as it is, and he'll be put to death if he's caught. Besides that, he has no idea what her powers might be. But the blood of a witch is said to be the sweetest of all, and impulse control has never been his strongest suit. The temptation to taste her might be more than he can resist. And first off, you have not just her who's held captive, but you have another witch as well who's being held captive, and she is a Spitfire. She is not the type of witch that will just take things lying down. And what I love about it is that both witches have common sense. They, like I said, you got this one witch who I believe her name is Lourdes, maybe, who is this hot-headed witch who has been collecting samples of her captor for weeks so she can do a spell on him. Then you've got Rose, who isn't quite as, I don't want to say vicious up front, but she too is not to be trifled with. And it's a very steamy, very dark story that I couldn't help but love. It just had characters that you love. Mir is dark, and on face value he seems evil, but even then you kind of end up not really rooting for him, but seeing his side of things. And I absolutely loved it. Like I said, if you have Amazon Prime, it's free. It can't hurt. You're probably already on your tablet or computer or phone anyway, because you're reading off of Wattpad. So download these books by Soraya Cage. I'll go ahead and link down below where you can get them. I will also put her name right here so you know how to spell them as well. Of course, I have her books right there. But just go ahead and give them a try, and give all of these fantastic authors' books a try, because they deserve the notoriety. And if you're still in the market for a good book for the rest of this summer, then go ahead and check out this lovely book right here. This is called Sanctuary, A Tale of Escape by yours truly. And it is a fantastic book, if I do say so myself. But don't just take my word for it. Why don't you guys go check it out? And leave some comments down below of some of your favorite books, because, I can't be the only one who has books that need to be turned into movies. So go ahead and leave those comments down below. And as usual, guys, I make new videos hopefully every Sunday or every week at least. And until next time, guys, this is Ari Janelle saying happy reading. Bye. And if after all that you're still looking for a book to, chill with this summer, then go ahead and check out this book right here. This is Sanctuary, A Tale of Escape, and its successor. Wow. I literally just forgot the name of my book there for a second. Wow.